Yo, what is good, everybody? It's your boy Golden Falls, Golden What If, whatever you want to call me, and I'm back with a brand new series and the start of a brand new What If. What if Deku was the reincarnation of Rengoku? I'm super excited for this What If, especially because the Demon Slayer Season 2 has just quote-unquote begun. I know they're redoing the Mujin train arc, or however you want to say that, Mujin, yeah, the movie or whatever. They're redoing it as well, and I know, and the first episode of that just came out like last Sunday. Super dope. Awesome as heck to see Rengoku again in full animation. Obviously, if y'all don't know already, obviously he dies. If you don't know that already, then I don't know what to tell you. It's like the movie's been out for a while. But super dope. So I thought I might as well do a what if Deku was the reincarnation of Rengoku, to basically, like, I don't know, because I was super excited that he's that we get to see him for at least a little bit more here. But yeah, if y'all are ready, I'm ready as well, and I won't waste any more of y'all's time, and we'll get right into the what if. Let's get it. In a world where superpowers, other known as quirks, became prevalent in society, many people struggled to find their role within it. There were people, though, that found peace with their lifestyle on the outskirts of central Japan and would live out their days like their ancestors thousands of years ago. On these outskirts, there were dojos that would teach swordsmanship. This is a story, though, about a young boy by the name of Izuku Midoriya that was sent to one of these dojos when he was just a child. He didn't know his parents, all he knew was the dojo and his sensei, thinking of him as his father. At the age of 4, Izuku would watch the dojo and all the students train in the art of swordsmanship, and he basically on his own, he would practice every move he would see in secret with his wooden sword. One day his sensei caught him practicing on his own, asking him what he wanted to do when he grew up. Izuku would look at him with the brightest smile possible and say that he wants to be strong and save people like him. He points at a poster that one of the sensei's students brought in of All Might, the #1 hero of Japan. The sensei by the name of Fukuzawa tells Izuku that if he wants to be like him, the road to becoming strong is a very difficult one, but with hard work, he knows he can do it. Izuku agrees and tells his sensei that he will train super hard and make him proud. Fukuzawa smiles, saying that he knows he will. 4 years pass and Izuku is now 8 years old. He has been living basically the lifestyle of his master in terms of training, taking care of the dojo and learning various things based on the knowledge of the elders in their village. One day during the training, Fukuzawa called Izuku over by calling him Kid, and Izuku asked him why does he not call him, by his name, but frankly, Izuku himself at this time didn't know what his name was either. Fukuzawa tells him that he feels that he is now ready to know. He brings out a basket with a note inside, and it says the name Izuku Midoriya. Well, kid, you are technically not one of my own. Your parents sent you here when you were just a baby, so I never felt right about changing your name, so I just decided I would call you Kid for a while. Izuku hugs him, telling him that it's okay, and that no matter what and no matter where he came from, Fukuzawa is both his sensei and father. Fukuzawa sheds a small tear, telling Izuku that his name is no longer Izuku Midoriya. He will keep the name Izuku to remember where he came from, but he will now hold his own last name, Rengoku. Izuku smiles brightly and hugs him, saying that he will never disappoint, especially now that he has his own sensei's name. His training continued and more students would come and go, but the thing with all those students is they had quirks and strived to become heroes. All of them would end up leaving the dojo feeling as if they basically were no longer getting any help. But of course, Izuku continued to learn. Eventually, he came to the conclusion that he didn't even get a quirk, but he realized that maybe this was for a reason. When Izuku turned 12, he kept hearing more and more about being a hero, and that's what he wanted to do. He saw a poster get sent to his dojo that advertised the most prestigious school in the country named UA. Hey, Sensei, do you think when I turn 15 I can go and try to make it into UA? Well, Izuku, I knew you would eventually ask this, but let me tell you something. People who are quirkless will always be treated differently, but son, I know you can do something that nobody else has ever done. Fukuzawa tells Izuku that if he wants to go to UA, that he will not stop him by any means, but as his sensei and father, he will prepare him. But I thought I learned everything already. No, not everything. Sit, I want to tell you a story. Izuku sits down and begins listening to his sensei's story. Long ago, this world was riddled with creatures called demons. There were people back then that would devote their lives to becoming a demon slayer. They would use a specific type of breathing that would allow them to gain strength. This village was one built back in those days. One man by our last name stood up to those demons with what we call now flame breathing. This breathing has been passed down for centuries, but now it seems it only be held within books. Nobody since the last flame Hashira has been able to control this flame breathing. But I can sense something within you, my boy, that just maybe you'll be able to be the one to carry on this flame breathing, to carry on the flame Hashira's will of fire. Izuku is in complete shock, but then finally utters words. I can do it, sensei. I will read the books front to back, train as hard as I can, and I will carry on the will of the flame Hashira. I know you will, kid. Give me a second. I will be right back. Fukuzawa leaves and brings back a book to Izuku, telling him that everything about flame breathing is within this book, and that he himself knows the stances and how to execute these techniques, but that he has never truly been able to produce any sort of ember. Izuku takes the book and begins training day in and day out, learning how to concentrate and slow down his breathing to the point where he can feel his body in a state of excitement, as if this breathing was allowing for his body to reach far beyond any human limitation of strength. When he turned 14, Izuku mastered the art of concentration breathing and began learning the various forms of flame breathing, seeing that there were 5 forms, but then immediately skipped to the 9th. He asked Fukuzawa about this, and he told Izuku that he doesn't know, that maybe the rest of the forms were just lost to time. Nonetheless, Izuku trained himself day in and day out to learn these forms, learning first form, the flame-breathing first form, unknowing fire, then second form, rising scorching sun, then third form, blazing universe, then the fourth form, blooming flame undulation, and finally the 5th form, flame tiger. He was able to learn those 5 forms in the year before he turned 15, but the 9th form was still unknown to him, feeling that his body was limited to, at this time, to perform it. Fukuzawa during this time left Izuku in his own dojo and only would bring him food and water while he wasn't training, wanting for his son and student to go on this journey of the breath of the flame alone, because Izuku was the only one with the potential of mastering it. The day of Izuku's 15th birthday, Fukuzawa entered the dojo, and the heat alone made it feel as if the room was boiling. Izuku saw Fukuzawa and began to speak. I wasn't able to master it all, sensei. Fukuzawa then began to laugh. Kid, you did more than anyone could have imagined, and I have no doubt in my mind that you are just not ready at this current time, but you will master all of it in the near future. Fukazawa pulls out a map and a flyer telling Izuku that the UA entrance exam is in about 1 week, and that this map will guide him to where he needs to go. He pulls out food and other items for him and tells him that he might need to sleep in the forest for maybe a day, and Izuku tells him not to worry, and that he was the one who taught him how to survive if he had nothing but the clothes on his back. Izuku the next morning heads off on his journey, basically by foot, that would take him several days. When he arrived at the location of the UA exam, it was about 1 day from actually beginning. He went to a nearby forest close to UA and make a small shelter, and he was taught basically how to do so when he was just a kid. He ate some food that he brought, and he basically just went to sleep. The next day, he was woken up by noises and the sounds of kids laughing at someone. He packs his stuff and walks over to the noise, finding boys about his age throwing rocks at a girl with pink and green hair. "You look so stupid. Don't even think about trying to get into UA, you freak. A girl shouldn't even be as strong as you are." The boys basically and his friends begin to laugh with him, and Izuku approaches them, telling them to leave. They throw rocks at Izuku, but he swiftly catches them, throwing the rocks back at them way harder than, they threw them. They run away, saying that a useless girl like her doesn't deserve to be helped. The girl hugs Izuku, and he maintains his massive smile. "It's okay. I heard them saying you want to get into, UA and are going to the entrance exam." She tells Izuku that it's true and that she wants to be a hero. "Well, come on, we don't want to be late." They start walking, and she asks what his name is, and he tells her that his name is, Izuku Rengoku, and she tells him that her name is Mitsuri Kanroji. "Well, nice to meet you. Feel free to just call me Izuku." Same, just call me Mitsuri then." Izuku tells her that sounds good to him, and they walk in together but are separated into different seatings. A very loud man that goes by President Mike begins talking to everyone, saying that they will first do a written portion of the test and then a practical involving robots. Izuku is sent off into another area and begins taking his test. Throughout the test, he realized that all the stuff that was taught to him was honestly a lot harder than most of the things on the test. There's a couple things on here though that he personally feels like, that he didn't get taught at all, but overall he feels pretty confident that he did, pretty well. He turns in his test to President Mike, but is stopped, and Mike asks him if the sword he is using is needed for his quirk. Izuku tells him yes, but also tells him that he doesn't have a quirk, but the sword is needed. Mike is in shock as he watches Izuku walk by to the auditorium. He sits down, and after everyone is finished, President Mike explains that the practical will have 1, 2, and 3-point robots. He is about to continue, but is interrupted by a boy with blue hair, who says that it's very unprofessional to forget a robot on the test. The boy turns and looks at someone behind him and tells her to stop rambling, and that she should just leave if she wants to ramble on and distract people. Izuku looks to see that it's Mitsuri, and she kind of just sinks down into her seat. Mike explains the 0-point robot, and everyone is sent off to their gates, and Mitsuri is sent to the same one as Izuku. He approaches her, telling her not to pay attention to these other people, and looks on her hip to see a katana holstered away. "I didn't know you used the sword." He pulls out his own sword and shows her. "Whoa, you have a sword too?" "Yeah, I do. I've been training with one all my life. What about you?" She explains that her quirk is enhanced through this weapon, and that it helps her control, her quirk better. Before any more questions could be asked, the practical begins. Izuku goes dashing through, slicing through various robots, basically in half, as fast as possible, using mostly his first and second form flame breathing techniques. Mitsuri sees this and looks on in shock. She continues destroying robots herself, thinking that maybe she should have just told him the truth about her power. Izuku slices through as many robots as he can, or as many as he can find, until he basically begins to feel the whole city shaking. A giant robot emerges from a building, and Izuku looks at it with a wide smile. Flame breathing, 5th form, Flame Tiger! He charges at the robot, taking out its legs entirely, and he's about to use basically another form, but he looks up to see Mitsuri in the sky slashing down on it with her whip-like sword. There is no way. Izuku realizes that Mitsuri doesn't have a quirk. She's using concentration breathing. They both destroy the robot, and she begins falling and screaming, saying that she should have thought this through before jumping. Izuku jumps up, catching her, and lands as the test ends. You don't have a quirk, do you? You can use concentration breathing. She looks away and apologizes for lying. He puts her down, saying that he isn't mad. He's just shocked, and he asks if she was using something called, well, love breathing. She nods her head, saying that it's an extension of flame breathing. As she says this, she realizes that Izuku was using flame breathing itself. She begins to say that her parents had old books on love and fire and flame breathing, and when they found out that she was quirkless, they began training her. And she basically explains that flame breathing was too hard for her, so she decided to just use love breathing instead, kind of like a different version of it. Wow, that's awesome! I'm sure my sensei would love to meet you. She agrees the same thing, that her parents would most likely want to meet, well, the only flame breathing user that anybody knows of. And they both head out of the building, but they are stopped before they could leave by Nezu and Aizawa. Hello, you two. I'm sorry for interrupting, but I would like to ask a couple questions. Nezu questions them about being quirkless, and they say they are, that they use something called, well, concentration breathing. A very old technique that thousands of years ago these people by the name of demon slayers used to use, and that very few people now ever use it. Nezu commends them both for being so impressive and offers them early acceptance, and they would be allowed to start living in their newly made dorms immediately. Izuku immediately agrees, as long as he's able to visit his dojo before moving in, and Mitsuri agrees as well, saying that this is just a dream come true. Aizawa chimes in, saying that they were both impressive, so he hopes that they don't disappoint later. Nezu looks at Aizawa with a smile, saying that that's pretty high praise coming from you. The details are settled, and Izuku and Mitsuri agree to meet up in the dorm when Izuku gets back from his dojo. Izuku leaves, and after a couple days of travel, arrives at the dojo to deliver the news. When he arrives, he enters the dojo to see Fukazawa training various students. He tells them to take a break and approaches Izuku. I did it, sensei! I'm proud of you, Izuku. You made your old man proud. Izuku explains that he will be, well, in dorms, and that he needs to move all his stuff over there. Fukazawa tells him that he will help him basically pack, but to make sure to come visit every so often when he has time. Izuku tells him of course, and he will, and they basically get all his stuff packed and get ready to leave. Izuku then brings up the whole Mitsuri and how he met someone else that can actually use concentration breathing. And, well, Fukazawa is in shock, saying that he's never heard of another person since, well, the Love Hashira to be able to use love breathing. Then, after that short conversation, Izuku agrees to basically bring Mitsuri back one of these days, and Fukazawa tells him thanks, and they send him on his way. He arrives at the dorms and basically unpacks and is assigned a room. Wow, this is definitely nicer than the dojo, but I mean, I am comfortable sleeping in forest, so what does that really say about me? He walks out of the room and is approached by someone. Hello, I am Momo Yaoyorozu. I am one of your classmates. Nice to meet you. Oh, yeah, nice to meet you. I'm Izuku Rengoku. Mitsuri then walks up, grabbing Izuku and dragging him away. Izuku tells Momo it was nice to meet her, and Mitsuri asks how the trip was with Izuku being clueless to why, well, she just dragged him away like that. It was great. Sensei was super happy that I got in, and he's super excited to, well, eventually meet you. They talk for a bit, and for the next couple days, nothing eventful really occurs until it's finally time for the first day of their hero journey at UA. Mitsuri and Izuku enter class to a blonde-haired boy and a blue-haired boy arguing. They begin to walk in and are about to sit down, but the blue-haired boy stops the girl. "Wait, you are the one who was rambling. I hope you learn to stop that habit." Mitsuri is about to apologize, but then Izuku speaks. "I saw the situation. If we are being honest, you made more of a distraction than she actually was, so please make sure to keep yourself in check as well." The boy introduces himself as Tenya Ida and apologizes for his behavior. They sit down and wait as Aizawa enters the classroom. "Listen up. I'm Aizawa, your teacher. For the next 3 years, everyone stand up and introduce yourself and say your quirk." Everyone does so, and the next person up is Mitsuri. She basically stands up, says her name, and she says that she is quirkless. Some people begin to laugh, and others are impressed at the fact that someone who was quirkless or is quirkless was able to get into UA. Midoriya stands up as well as she's getting laughed at and introduces himself, well, by his name, and says that he is quirkless as well. "What the hell is this? 2 quirkless losers in UA?" Aizawa stands up, telling the class to shut up, and that they made it in just like everyone else did. He tells everyone to meet him outside for an assessment test, and everyone does so. They meet him on the field, and Aizawa speaks. "We will be doing various activities, and you all will be given a total score. And since some of you think it's so funny that we have 2 quirkless students, whoever gets lower scores than them will be expelled." The class begins to freak out, saying that that's not even fair, and Aizawa tells them that life isn't fair, and they should have thought about that before making fun of someone that is quirkless, something that they can't even control. "Now, the person in first place in the entrance exam will start us off." A boy by the name of Bakugo Katsuki walks up, but Aizawa says that it wasn't him who got first. He throws the ball to Izuku and tells him to throw it as far as possible. Izuku, using concentration breathing and his flame breathing, basically throws the ball, and a flame tiger trails behind it. 980 meters, that's pretty good, kid. Mitsuri, who got second in points, throws the ball as well, doing only slightly worse than Izuku. And all the other tests were basically ran as normal, but Izuku and Mitsuri were the ones who got top 2, and Aizawa smirks widely. "Don't worry, I'm not expelling you all, but I hope you learn to not disrespect others because they're quirkless." Aizawa tells everyone to leave, and that class is now over. They all listen and head back to the dorms, where a lot of the boys try talking to Mitsuri now, basically knowing how strong she is, or how cool she is because, she can keep up with Izuku and she's at the top of the class. But she just ignores them. Izuku, on the other hand, when he is approached by everyone, he's super nice and upbeat, and Mitsuri basically has to deal with but Mitsuri, on the other hand, had to deal with a lot more torment than Izuku. So to her, these guys are just nothing but a bunch of jerks. But Izuku, on the other hand, was taught at a very young age to be as nice as possible to everyone. Mitsuri and Izuku then talk about going to his dojo this weekend, and some of the girls ask if they can go as well, but Izuku tells them that he's pretty sure they could not handle the journey. They get mad, saying that they can handle a couple hours of driving, and Izuku tells them that that's good and all, but he goes home by foot, and it takes 2 days depending on how fast he wants to go. They look in shock as both of them continue to talk, and Mitsuri says that they should see if they can get it done in under a day. And Izuku tells her that, I mean, he's never tried, but why not? So they basically agree that over the weekend to head up to his dojo. The day is then over, and the next day the class is greeted by Aizawa. Listen up, problem children. Today a different teacher will be instructing you. Everyone asks who it is until a man busts through the door. I am here, walking through the door like a normal person. Izuku stands up in shock, saying All Might with the rest of the class. He tells them all to get on their hero costumes, and the class heads out to get changed. Izuku looks to see that Fukazawa made him, basically the same look as the old Flame Hashira's outfit, or at least what they saw drawn in the book. He runs out before anyone could actually finish, and he runs to All Might, telling him that he is a super big inspiration to him, and that when he saw a poster of All Might saving people in his dojo, he knew he wanted to be a hero no matter what. All Might tells him thank you, but tells Izuku that him and Mitsuri are far beyond more inspirational than himself because of their unwavering resolve even without a quirk. Izuku thanks him for the compliment and tells All Might that he will let Mitsuri know of the high praise. All Might laughs and pats Izuku on the head, telling him to do his best on this journey and to make sure to always keep a smile on his face. The rest of the class joins them, and All Might explains that today they will be doing something simple, a simple combat training exercise. I will have 2 of you go 1 versus 1, and we will analyze your fights. Now, who would like to go first? Bakugo steps up. I want the quirkless extra. Mitsuri asks which one and kinda laughs. All Might chuckles as well, and Bakugo says he wants Rengoku. All Might tells them both to head into the city, and that he will tell them when to begin the fight. Okay, you two, begin in 3, 2, 1, go! Bakugo charges at Izuku at full speed, and he stands still, waiting. Bakugo tries to blast him with his right hand, but Izuku appears behind him with his sword to his neck. That's 1 loss, Bakugo. Want to continue? Izuku backs up, and Bakugo charges in once again. The class looks on in shock, saying that it seems like Izuku is training him. All Might tells them that he kinda is, showing him basically the flaws of his fight style. Izuku does this a couple more times, but eventually Bakugo gets so mad that he pulls the pin on his gauntlet, trying to blast him away. Izuku gets in his stance. Flame breathing, 5th form, Flame Tiger. The Flame Tiger engulfs the blast and blows them both away. But when the smoke clears, though, Izuku dashes at Bakugo, knocking him out. You really should be more careful. That blast could have killed someone. All Might deems Izuku as the winner and tells him to drop Bakugo off at Recovery Girls. Izuku comes back to see the fight between Mitsuri and Momo, but, well, the fight goes pretty much in favor of Mitsuri, and she wins very easily. The rest of the class has their fights and their criticisms until All Might tells the class that they are free to go. Then the class leaves and heads back to the dorms except for Izuku. Izuku went to the gym at UA and continued his training to try and gain access to the 9th form of flame breathing. The next day, Izuku was questioned by Mitsuri at where he was, and he told her that he was just training, and that she gets kinda mad, saying that, why not invite her next time? Aizawa enters the class. Okay, today we'll all be doing something different. You'll all be going to the USJ to work on some rescue training. The class is super excited, and they basically all head off into the bus and go to the USJ. When they arrive, they are greeted by Pro Hero 13, and she explains to them what the USJ is exactly and basically what they're going to be doing. But during this explanation, Kirishima points out that he didn't know that there were going to be fake villains as well. Aizawa turns to see the villains exiting a portal in the middle of the USJ, and he tells the class those are no fake villains. Kirogiri, where's All Might? Not sure, young master, but the 2 kids that that Master is looking for are both here. Perfect. Let's get them, and then we'll kill All Might. And that is a wrap for part 1 of What If Deku was the reincarnation of Rengoku. I've been getting a lot of comments about wanting the episodes to be longer, so that's why I made this episode a little longer. Just so y'all know, I can try my best to make episodes longer, or parts longer, but just know that it might end up going back to the format of a 3-parter or something like that, because I can put a lot of extra detail, and that's what I've been trying to do, but sometimes that doesn't work, and so we might end up going to the back to a 3-part version, but I'm gonna try my best to maybe get out 30-minute videos. I know y'all like the longer ones, and eventually, hopefully, I can get a couple movies done. Movies obviously are a lot harder to make than just these parts because it's a lot longer, but with that said, I hope y'all enjoyed. Please leave a like and subscribe. Also, make sure to check out the description below for anime apparel. You get 10% off at checkout using code GOLDEN. And yeah, that's about it. I hope y'all enjoyed. And yeah, have an amazing day, everyone. Later.